Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and this is battle between Chalukyas and Pallavas. As you know that in ancient India, two important kingdoms were established in Deccan and in peninsular India respectively. They fought among themselves for 200 years and ultimately they finished off, leading to the rise of another dynasties. And I will discuss in detail as to how the battles between Chalukyas and Pallavas unfolded in its long history of Deccan and peninsular India and how it impacted the politics or the economy of India. So my lesson plan includes introduction, who were Chalukyas, who were Pallavas, causes of battles, course of war, and finally conclusion. Friends, as you know that we have now ample evidence and source of information in the form of epigraphic evidence because from Aihole inscriptions we know lots of exploits of Chalukya kings, and similarly we know from epigraphic evidences about the conquest and exploits of Pallavas. So one by one I will discuss under these points. Friends, if you like my channel, please share and subscribe AJIS Academy Indore on YouTube. This is free channel. Just subscribe the channel, open this and you will find numerous videos covering Indian history, Constitution of India, Geography of India, Indian economy, general mathematics and logical reasoning, general science. So you should not go anywhere. Everything is available for the competitive examinations from UPSC to Provincial Civil Services Examination at one platform. So just subscribe my channel AJIS Academy Indore on YouTube. Friends, now I start the proceedings. First of all, introduction. And before introducing you about the battle between Chalukyas and Pandavas, let us study the map. Friends, you see this is the map of India, and now in 590 AD, because you know that both the dynasties sprang up in the second half of the 6th century AD, and so this is the map of India in 590 AD. And according to this map, what you see that Guptas, the great Gupta dynasty already declined, and now in its place late Guptas, although they were not connected with the main branch of the Gupta dynasty. So this is the late Gupta who ruled over Patliputra, then Mokharis, you see, and its capital was at Kannauj. Later on, Kannauj became the center of gravity. I mean the center of political gravity of Hindustan for the next 500 years. And so whoever captured Kannauj, he became the master of all India. So in the next lecture I will discuss about the tripartite struggle among the Rashtrakutas, Gurjar Pratihar and Pal dynasties for the purpose of capturing this Kannauj. Now the Kannauj, earlier its capital, Mokhari had its capital at Kannauj, but Pusibhutis and particularly Harshvardhan, who belonged to Pusibhuti dynasty, he switched over his capital to Kannauj, and thereafter Kannauj became the center of political gravity for the next 500 years. Now, in Gujarat, you see that this is the Maitrikas. Another dynasty was formed in Gujarat because after the decline of Gupta dynasty, India was divided into so many kingdoms. There was no central authority which could command respect from all people. So we see that how Burmans, late Guptas, Pushibhutis, Maukharis, Maitrikas, these kingdoms sprang up and they declared themselves independent. So now in Deccan, what you see? A new dynasty that is called Chalukyas. This is, and its capital was at Badami. Earlier its name was Vatapi. Vatapi was its capital and the modern name is Badami, and this is now in the Bijapur district of Karnataka. And again another dynasty sprang up and that was called Pallavas. Now friend, you see the Pallavas, it had its capital at Kanchipuram, present day Kanchipuram, and so the struggle started between two great powers in Deccan and peninsular India. Friends, as you know that Chalukyas had different branches. The main branch functioned from Vatapi, modern Badami, and another branch was formed at Bengi. Later on, when Rashtrakutas captured power from Chalukyas and they made their capital at Manikhet, somewhere around upper reaches of Maharashtra, on the bank of Godavari river. So, after the decline of Rashtrakutas, later again, Chalukyas asserted their authority and again they exercised their powers for next 200 years. So you see that different branches of Chalukyas ruled over the Deccan areas for 500 to 600 years. And at one time Chalukyas were most powerful power in the entire India. So now you see this is the river and this is called Godavari. Now the another river is Krishna, this one, and the Vengi was located between Godavari and Krishna river on the eastern side. Now it is situated in Andhra Pradesh. And another river, and that was the Tungabhadra, the subsidiary river of Krishna river, this one. So this way you see that this is the Doab between Krishna and Tungabhadra river became the bone of contentions between different kingdoms of Deccan and southern India for 1500 years. You see that after the demise of Chalukyas and Pallava dynasties, Rashtrakuta and Cholas again fought over the control of this Doab because it had most fertile soils. So this Doab was the bone of contention even during the period of Sultanate period when Bahmani and Vijayanagar Empire fought with one another to control the Doab of the river Krishna and Tungabhadra. Now friends, I switch over to another point, introduction. You see that the battle of Batapi was a decisive battle that took place between Pallavas and Chalukyas near capital Batapi, present day Badami, in 642 AD, where Pallavas under the leadership of Narasimhavarman I, its ruler, attacked even the capital of Chalukyas, I mean Batapi, and this battle resulted into the killing of the most powerful king of Chalukya dynasty, I mean Pulkesin II. He was the same person, same ruler who defeated Harshvardhan on the bank of Narmada river, and so he stopped the southward advancement of Harshvardhan. So, what you see, that Pallav ruler Narasimhavarman took the title of Batapi Konda, and not only this, but for next 13 years, Pallav rulers ruled over the city Batapi, controlled it. Who were Chalukyas? Another point is, who were Chalukyas? Friends, there is no unanimity of views among the scholars as to who were Chalukyas. Number one, Chalukyas, according to literary sources, Chalukyas claimed their descent from Brahma, Manu or moon, as it was customary during those days. They boasted that their ancestors ruled in Ayodhya, and so they wanted respectability from the people who were to be governed by them. In actuality, they were local Kanaris people and who were accommodated in the world hierarchy by Brahmanas' blessings. Friends, as you know, that the tribal people or those people who belong to lower varnas, I mean Sudra or Vaisya, they invented artificial genealogical table with the help of the Brahmanas, and so that their legitimacy should be established among people. Now, in the second half of the 6th century AD, as I have already told you, Chalukyas established their rule in the western Deccan with its capital at Batapi, the modern day Badami, in the district Bijapur of Karnataka. I have already told you that this Chalukya dynasty had branched up into so many dynasties like the Eastern Chalukyas with its capital at Vengi. Again, later Chalukyas with its capital at Kalyani. So, these different dynasties ruled over Deccan for 500 to 600 years, starting from 6th century AD. The original branch which ruled over Deccan with its capital at Batapi continued to rule for next 200 years, and within these years they had constant fight with the rising power of Pallavas with its capital at Kanchipuram. So now we switch over to another point. Who were Pallavas? Friends, Pallavas were possibly a local tribe, and in Tamil language, Pallavas are also called robbers. So it might be possible that they might have been active in criminal activities, and it took a lot of time to get themselves civilized. The authority of Pallavas extended to southern Andhra and northern Andhra Pradesh. Its capital was at Kanchi, a town of temple and Vedic learning. Pallav were great champions of Vedic sacrifices. On account of Vedic sacrifices, the prestige and income of priestly class rose during the period of Pallavas and even Chalukyas. And now, the power of Brahmanas increased manifold at the expense of peasantry, because most of the taxations had to be borne by peasantry. Now Sim Vishnu 575 to 600 AD captured the territory of Cholas and humbled the pride of their neighbors, including Ceylon, Sri Lanka. During the reign of Mahendravarman, the power of Pallavas increased manifold and tried to expand his kingdom northward. And so, this increase of their dominion towards north led to the scuffle between Chalukyas and Pallavas. And so the expansion policy adopted by Mahendravarman I was not liked by Chalukyan king Pulakeshin II. And so we see that he attacked Kanchipuram and one by one he defeated in 3 battles Pallav kings. And so next, Pallavas were very much humiliated. They purchased peace by ceding northern territories of their kingdom. Now, another point is, what are the causes for the conflict between Chalukyas and Pallavas? Friends, as you know, that both Chalukyas and Pallavas increased their power manifold. They had imperialistic design. And so what you see, that both championed Brahmanism, both performed Vedic sacrifices, both granted villages to Brahmanas, patronized Sanskrit, but both dynasties quarreled over the prestige, over the plunder, over the territorial resources of another. And another point is, as I have already told you, that the bone of contention between 2 dynasties was the fertile land of the Doab of the river Krishna and Tungabhadra. And so this imperialistic design of both the powers led to the constant struggle between both the dynasties. Now you see, this is the map of the river of India, and you can see this. By this river I will show you as to what constituted Doab of the river Krishna and Tungabhadra. So you see, this is the, friends, as you see, this is the Godavari river, and then it is this is a Krishna river, and the tributary of Krishna river is Tungabhadra, this one. Now this area, you see, this one, this area had always been the bone of contention between different kingdoms in different historical period of peninsular India. And similarly, you see, this is Kaveri river. Kaveri river It has a rich, fertile land, most fertile delta in southern India, and so these areas gave rise to different kingdoms like Pandyas around Madurai district. And this one Kanchi, this was the capital of Pallavas, and this was the capital of Chalukya dynasty, Vatapi. At one time, the power of Chalukyas expanded from Narmada river to Kaveri river, this one. So you can see, this was the area captured by Chalukyas. Now, I think that your conception would have been clear. Next. Now, codes of war. Friends, I have already told you that Pulkesin II was the greatest ruler of Chalukya dynasty. He ruled from 609 to 642, and one by one he subjugated the small kingdoms like Kadamba, whose capital was at Banvasi, and then Ganga, western Gangas, whose capital and of Mysore. Then he defeated Harshvardhan and checked his southward advance into Deccan or peninsular India. And again he defeated Pallavas and reached to the capital of Kanchi. Almost Kanchi defeated 3 battles. So Pallav kings were very much humiliated. At that time, Mahendra Barman first was the Pallav king. He was very much humiliated by Chalukya king Pulkesin II, and peace was purchased by Pallav king by ceding the northern provinces to Chalukyas. Now you see that Pulkesin II also conquered the entire area between Krishna and Godavari, and at one time during the period of Pulkesin II, as I have already told you, the extent of Chalukya kingdom started from the bank of Narmada in the north to the bank of Kaveri in the south. So he made Chalukya kingdom a vast empire. Now you see, Pallavas nursed grievances against Chalukyas. They were smarted under the mighty blow of Chalukyas, so they wanted to take revenge against Chalukyan king Pulkesin II. So friends, you see that when in 642 AD, Pulkesin II again invaded Kanchipuram. At that time, the Pallav king was Narasimhavarman first. He was always on the lookout to retaliate or to avenge the humiliation that his father Mahendra first had to undergo at the hands of Pulkesin II. And so he was fully prepared militarily to confront Pulkesin II in 642 AD, and when Pulkesin II invaded Kanchipuram, Pallav king Narasimhavarman routed him, completely defeated him, and not only defeated, the Chalukyan king, but Pallav armies chased Chalukyan armies and they encircled, surrounded Vatapi, the fort of Vatapi, and ultimately succeeded in subjugating army of Chalukyas. Pulkesing II was killed in the battle, and on account of vengeance, they did not leave Vatapi for 13 years. So by this way, Pallavas very much humiliated Chalukyas. Now you see, this retaliation or counter-retaliation continued for the next 100 years. And you see that Vikramaditya first, in alliance with Pandyas, captured Kanchi. Again, later Parmeshwar Barman first defeated Vikramaditya II with alliance with Chola dynasty. The Chalukya king Vikramaditya II, 733 to 745, overran 3 times Kanchi. So in 740 AD, he completely routed Pallavas. So you see that one by one, he led 3 expeditions against Pallavas and completely decimated the power of Pallavas. Now Pallavas were not in the position to rise again. You see, and this supremacy of Pallavas ended forever. And taking advantage of the weakness of Pallavas, its own feudatory Cholas, under the leadership of Aditya I Chola, captured Kanchi and Toda Mandalam. The constant battles with Pallavas drained the resources of Chalukyas, and you see that Chalukya dynasty was brought to an end by its own feudatories. Feudatory Danti Durga, who established a new dynasty in Deccan, which is capital at Manikhet, and his name was Danti Durga in 757 AD. Now, what conclusion we derive from this lecture? Friends, as you know that both the dynasty fought one another for the next 200 years, from 6th century to 8th century AD. The constant battles drained the resources of the both dynasties, and ultimately their rules came to an end. Their feudatories, as I have already told you that during the Chalukya and Pallava dynasties, what you see, that feudalism grew, and we find that states were created within the state. The feudal lords had become very much powerful because of the land grants given to them. The priestly landlords sprang up in the Deccan and peninsular India. So friends, what you see, that when your central authority became weak, this weakness was taken as advantage by their subordinate feudatories, and they captured power or the central authority by removing the incumbent king. So in this case also, what we find, that the constant battles drained the resources of both the dynasties, and ultimately their rules came to an end. The Doab of Krishna and Tungabhadra had always been the bone of contention in different periods of Indian history. Later on, what you find, that the struggle between Cholas and Rashtrakutas continued for next 200 years because of its fertile soils, and again during the Sultanate period between Bahmani and Vijayanagar Empire over the control of Doab of Krishna and Tungabhadra. So, because of internecine battles among Deccani and Peninsular Kingdom, their resources were drained. Secondly, because of rise of feudalism, on account of large scale land grants to Brahmanas and government officers, estates were created within a state, resulting into the weakening of the power of central authority. Because of these factors, neither northern states nor southern state could withstand the attacks from different Muslim invaders, and the result was India became a subordinate power of India came under Muslim rules for next 800 years. So friends, you see that because of the combination of caste, clan and feudal elements, this cocktail of three deleterious factors led to the defeat of Indians at every wars against foreigners. So I am winding up this discussion. If you like my lecture, please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy on YouTube. Please suggest in comment box if you have any. I will be very much delighted. Thank you very much.